Christopher Wilder was a serial killer lurking in South Florida during the 1970s and early 1980s. Officially, his killing spree did not begin until 1984, but he was assaulting women throughout the 1970s. Whether he was involved in the Flat Tire and Canal murders is unclear, but records show that there was interest in him as a possible suspect. Christopher Bernard Wilder was born in Australia in 1945 to an American father and an Australian mother. By 1962, he had been convicted in the gang rape of a 13-year-old girl in Australia. In 1969, he moved to Boynton Beach in Palm Beach County, Florida, where he started a successful construction and real estate business. By 1971, he was arrested for soliciting two young women to pose for nude photographs, but served no jail time. In 1974, he drugged and raped a woman, but again served no time. He was again accused of raping a 16-year-old Boca Raton girl and asking her to perform sex acts on him in the front seat of his El Camino. He was acquitted by the jury in a court trial of this charge. In 1980, Wilder, then 35 years old, was living in Boynton Beach and was arrested in a sheriff's department operation and charged with posing as a modeling agent to trap a 16-year-old girl before assaulting her. He was eventually placed on 5 years of probation and his sentence was deferred. Detectives believed that Wilder had been a suspect since 1976 in similar cases in which a man posed as a modeling agent and attempted to seduce teenage girls. However, he was not charged in those crimes. In 1982, Wilder went to Australia and again represented himself as being a photographer. He was arrested for kidnapping and assaulting two 15-year-old girls. When he returned to Florida, he was charged with a probation violation. He was due in court on May 7, 1984. Wilder then went on a killing spree that took him across the United States, lasting about 7 weeks. He was linked with attacks on 11 women, 4 of whom were murdered and 4 remain missing. He was approaching an average of 1 woman a day. He was eventually confronted by law enforcement in Rochester, New York, and shot himself in New Hampshire when the police were closing in on him. Was he in Miami in 1975 and 1976 when the Flat Tire and Canal murders occurred? Quite possibly. His construction was called Sawtell Construction and Sawtell Electric, which were founded in 1978. They were registered with the state of Florida from Wilder's Boynton Beach home. Before the Sawtell businesses were founded, Wilder was a member of the Tipping and Wilder Construction Company, founded in 1973 and dissolved in 1978. The offices of this business were located at 250 Northwest 27th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. Tipping and Wilder worked on a luxury home project in Boca Raton in 1976, and an advertisement from the Fort Lauderdale News dated December 6, 1976, identifies Tipping and Wilder as general contractors, at that time located at 2550 North Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale. Essentially, the location of Wilder's business in Fort Lauderdale in 1976 was well within easy driving distance to Miami and western Broward County. Could Wilder's firms have been working near the 163rd Street Mall in 1975? A new apartment complex called Summer Winds was advertised in 1975 as being located at Northwest 165th Street, which was a short distance from the 163rd Street Mall. This was where Ronnie Gorlin and Elise Rapp's disabled cars were found. There was also a potential clue that may tie Wilder to the flat tire murders. The bite marks on Ronnie Gorlin were the same nature as those on Suzanne Wendy Logan, one of Wilder's Oklahoma victims in 1984. Police took teeth impressions from Wilder to compare to other possible victims, but it's unclear whether anything came of this. In fact, Ronnie Gorlin's medical examiner file contains a handwritten note dated April 28, 1984, stating that the FBI was requesting documents in her case in connection with their investigation into Christopher Wilder. Christopher Wilder is a strong suspect as he was a serial rapist and killer active in South Florida. He was capable of violence and murder, as evidenced by his cross-country killing spree in 1984. However, he did not have a record of violence before that time, although he was the suspect in a killing in Australia in 1965. Nevertheless, he was certainly a predator. He lived in Palm Beach County and was active in Broward County, particularly with his construction company. In fact, his first known abduction and murder was in Miami in 1984. Wilder was driving across the country on a killing spree, and it's therefore quite feasible that he was also involved in murders in his own backyard. He's an interesting suspect and one that should be pursued further. Thank you for listening. As always, if you'd like more information, my book is available, titled The Flat Tire Murders: Unsolved Crimes of a South Florida Serial Killer, available on Amazon and published through McFarland Press. If you have any questions or issues that you would like to discuss in future episodes, please let me know. Thank you for listening.